And we're recording. Hey, Priit, it's good to finally meet you. It's been I've been following your work for I guess I would say probably close to about a year, maybe about a year. I came across it through your one of your seminars at BJJ Globetrotters. You have a very unique way of teaching, and that's what drew me in, right? So you approach BJJ, and you've said it multiple times, as a sport and not an art. And
yes,
and I think I heard you say that you described your teaching as functionalistic minimalism.
now the term is even like a functional minimalist. We even minimalize that word. So it's one of my friends, Alex from UK. He was like, he's initiated. Like he was like, dude, you're talking about minimalistic things, so you have to make the functionalistic functional. So now it's super minimal.
How would you describe what that concept?
I think the website I have, it's not really active, but in there, I think the sentence is that all the postures that every grappler needs to know. I don't want to. I think I will give myself a freedom in the future to change my mind and to go after something else. But at the moment, I'm interested of the extremes. You know, like let's say one extreme would be like, what is the, you know, like so to speak, I call it like those 0 points. What is the actual zero? You know, where everything starts. You know, what can you do and get by, and it should be enough. You know, like staying in those, let's say turtle or those sitting turtle panda 0 points, and just do enough. Basically, don't move. And then we start to build complexity from there. So it's kind of like a tree of evolution. It kind of like I'm fascinated by the idea that it started from the, you know, single cell organism. That jiu-jitsu we can go that zero, like we can trace all the animals to you know, I think they say like a single cell organism, you know, so completely to the zero, and then to the stardust and whatever, you know, to the Big Bang. So I'm fascinated by the idea that where jiu-jitsu starts. How do we should start teaching that, or is there a beginning? Because it cannot be like you start to teach escaping when people have cross face, underhook, and side control. You know, clearly that's like the wrong position to start. It's not a zero. So those things happen, and then we should know, but what we should do as a minimal thing to get by, and then the complexity that is added, it's actually your choice, that you can get by doing the minimum, let's say, and or you get bored, you add things when you need to. So that's kind of you know, simplified version. You have to always do something, but what's the minimum you have to do to get by? And example that, you know, like if you've seen my turtle 0 point, yeah, you can pretty much stay there, use all your strength and attributes and everything to just keep that structure and do as less as you can, and then find a way out. Maybe pull guard, stand up, you know, whatever you want to do. Or you can, if you get super bored and maybe that stalling like game is not your cup of tea, and maybe you're ready, maybe you have done grappling more, then you feel when you want to add stuff, because you don't have to add 20 sweeps to turtle, you know, you just maybe need a couple of jab cross connections that work together, a couple of pairs, and then that's it. You do it forever, and then you get bored. Maybe you add something, maybe you don't, but those added sweeps, they're not essential to actually be good in turtle. So that freedom to choose what to add, what not to add, I think it's interesting. Other way, if we don't teach this according to 0 points, then we start to teach only techniques, and then it's a chase of techniques, and then it's 1,000 techniques, you know, and then it's very often beginners say, you know, it's super complicated. it's always every week. And also I have a really like a mind, I don't know, like how to say it nicely, mind trick that taken.
I say you don't have to say it nicely. You can just say it.
Yeah, like a mind game that usually I say like or maybe we'll get to that idea that if you teach like two techniques in a class, and then you have 2 classes a week as a recreational grappler, and then in a couple of weeks you have 4 techniques. In a week you have 4 techniques, in 2 weeks you have 8 techniques, and you can do the math. And we can't keep teaching things like this because it's just like accumulation of techniques.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying the 0 point and ideas and all this is perfect, but it tries to give to the complexity oriented art like a better explanation how to learn and what is actually essential to keep rolling, to get by, and then adding techniques is a free will, you know. So kind of that's my, you know, unpolished definition.
Yeah. How have you found that, you know, starting from first principles or trying to get to the first principles and, you know, teaching, say, someone who has no grappling experience?
Ask me again. Ask the question.
How have you found that? How have you found teaching first principles to someone who's completely new?
How you asking me how did I find for myself, or how do I teach them others?
How have others found it? So when you've taught, say, so usually let's say someone comes into a new gym, right? No experience in grappling, hasn't wrestled, hasn't done any sort of even judo or jiu-jitsu for that matter. So they come in, and often what ends up happening is they get destroyed for the first 6 months, and then we normalize this. We always say, oh yeah, the first 6 months you're going to get destroyed, get used to it. But then I think with the way you're teaching it, you're saying, okay, look, I can teach you these fundamental first principle, you know, the basics of it that will help you survive.
Okay.
And
first of all, I think at the moment we have in our club 4 stages. We have beginners, we have base, we have main, and we have advanced, like 4 different groups. So actually, in a beginner's course, we teach 3 months, like 2/3 are submissions.
The first 3 months.
Yeah, first 2/3 of it pretty much is submission, because and then guard passing and some other stuff. But we don't talk about half guard or anything else because there is no interest. Because we teach like this that you can join every class. So it's 2 classes a week. You can join each class because all the classes are independent. So you just do the cycle of 3 months, and if you've done most classes, we will push you on another group. If you missed, more than third or whatever, we will ask you to do it again. Keep the cycle. And we teach submissions because that's the context people understand. And so, DARS, arm bars, triangles, I guess Achilles, knee bar, and all those things. And in those areas, we isolate a lot with let's say with the progressive resistance. Yeah, somebody plays a dummies, you hold the arm, they try to finish, and somebody gets a lot of tap. Somebody learns to be a partner and tap a lot and resist until you have to tap. So what's the purpose of this is when they go, they don't roll, they don't free roll first 3 months. I think it's very dangerous to make people roll in first 3 months because people don't understand rolling. They take everything personally, and the injury risk is super high, and people get sore and everything else. And they don't know, they cannot spar if they don't know the dangers. So if they don't know submission threat, they cannot spar, because if somebody does you a DARS, sometimes it's a chank, like a choke and a crank. So your neck is messed up, next day. So we don't let them spar. They drill, you can say spar, in a very restricted, in a distance. And then after this, when they know all the threats of submissions and chokes, they go to base course, and there the classes will be longer, also 1.5 hours. Beginners class is usually an hour, and then they start to roll. Also, the free rolling starts then, And the only thing I want them to be safe of knowing when to tap. Yeah, and for what to tap. So basically that's why we teach submissions. So they would come and because they will start to roll and they have to tap a lot, you know. The people that been in a base course, they will hunt them. And if you're coming from the beginner's course, you will tap. So we have to keep them safe. So that's the reasoning. And I think in base course, since I don't teach base course, I teach advanced blue belts and up. And in base course, they start to they have like an 8 to 10 month cycle. And there they learn all the 0 points and they go more to techniques and the ideas and stuff. And I think the idea of 0 point, it sounds kind of perfect that I would just do this and nothing else. Still, I would, it's all kind of based on 0 points. But then we have to show them also techniques, you know, we have to, it's not only like, you know, teaching this, we have to show them what is a jab, cross, what is uppercut, body punch, how they work together, what is fundamental sweeps, that how people can be swept, you know, it can be in front of them, under them, you know, behind them. So they have to learn all those ideas in a base course. So we have to go over some techniques because we can't just go just 0 point and just spar, you know.
Right.
They have to be taught.
And
So that's how we start, but it's all based on kind of those 0 points and even so defensively, and the results has been actually quite interesting. How maybe some white or blue belts, it's really tough to tap them actually. If they won't bite you back because their timing and confidence is not there, but you have to work with them. You have to really get stuff, you know. And I think that's the main thing. They can survive. They don't get manhandled. It's not like they're getting demolished 6 months, and it's super easy to fix them because if I get them in some position, I can say them right away according to 0 points, like keep your elbows here, you know, keep your elbows tight, keep your knees wide. So everything goes back to the 0. Like it's super easy to fix their mistakes. If I get an armbar from turtle or seatbelt, I will tell them, okay, wrist fight more, elbow close here, you know, head on a mat and fix your base and do it again, you know. So it's not so much about technique. So helping them and fixing them, it's actually easier. So, and we're trying to build that system into the club more, I guess. It's also the system is peaking in that sense. I can do it in a pretty okay level in a black belt. So it's all kind of coming together, and we're trying to also find ways, you know, to teach it around that more in a club. But definitely it's not only this, you know. I think the way we drill, the way we spar with special rules in a class and all kind of methodologies, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to bring and experiment in my club. So 0 point is just one of them.
With the 0 point, is it accurate to say that the 0 point system, if I can call it a 0 point system, is more defensive oriented as opposed to an offensive orientation?
At the moment, yes. Probably somebody has actually asked what is the, you know, go-to position from top, but I'm not interested of this at the moment. So I'm really nerdy about defensive stuff. So sitting turtle, hawking, running man, and all those things. Active turtle also. So it's more around defensive stuff, because idea is that everybody talks that, you know, like you said also, first 6 months is about survival and, you know, getting through this and getting manhandled. I think everybody and people say it's like survival, but I actually don't know. It's a very cocky thing to say, but I don't actually know a lot of systems, defensive systems, that are providing answers to this problem. People are usually teaching, you know, very scattered ways of escaping. And least, if I'm saying this is the only system, probably I will get a lot of heat for that. But I would say, show me a system that like covers everything. Yeah. Not only like some people have good back escapes, you know, some people have good this, but show me an overall system like that covers knee and bellies, mount, everything. Yeah. So, and I'm working on this. It's not perfectly ready. I'm still experimenting with mount and stuff, and there's some funny things happening there, but it's getting there. And you know, side controls, turtles, and all those things. And I'm trying to answer that question. I'm trying to build that system, And definitely I'm, stealing from top names by watching what they do in the matches, how they escape, because good guys can hide in a competition what they do, what they're good at. So I'm trying to find common denominators with people in a high level, what they do repetitively, different people, and to build a system around that. And it's slowly happening, and the results are pretty interesting. It's not going to be like, oh, this is it and that's the best thing, but it clearly tries to give the better answer to the question that we see what's out there at the moment.
How important is it to look at what high level grapplers are doing, as opposed to just not looking at them and then kind of building it on by yourself?
Sometimes what people teach and do are different things. I always say, like, good, like a genius or whatever, good people can hide what they know, even if they don't teach or they don't have instructional, or some people are not giving out information purposely. But if you watch them roll, they can't hide what they know. So example, I'm actually, I'm a big head grabber. I do the necktie from the guard top, yep. I do the necktie from the mount bottom also.
Yeah. I
do it from mount bottom. And there's interesting evidence that the necktie from mount bottom is kind of the first thing you should do or something. I don't know. It's still under construction. But the necktie came from, what's the Henry Gracie brother's name? Hiron?
Hiron.
Yeah, Hiron. And he was doing one seminar. It was clipping internet, YouTube. And he was doing one seminar. He was talking about grabbing the head, and randomly, he just grabbed the necktie and just bumped the person and rolled. And he was I just made it up on a spot, but this would be ideal or something, he said. I was like, God damn it, this is so perfect. It's like because you break the person's posture, spine is curved, and this is the way you breach, It's like a headlock throw. So it's a perfect roll. So, and so there's a lot of, Marcelo necktie stuff happening, how he escapes. And there's some other, grabbing the head, kind of also what a little bit Gracies are doing. They're like, posting and wrapping the elbow and grabbing the head. And so a lot of times, even like the sitting, let's say the panda, the sitting turtle, there's a Henry Gracie and the Korean zombie, like a clip. And Henry uses a little bit like sitting turtle, and even in back escapes, he grabs the toes.
That's right.
His elbows are kind of out, so we do also grab the toes, and elbows are in, so it creates a fulcrum, like a toe hold. Elbows are pushed to the shins. So, and we did it before this video actually came out. We were already playing with Panda. But clearly Henry is playing with this, and he even said in a video, like, nobody can, defend this escape, and it's one of the best I do, blah, blah, blah. I somehow find those things randomly in internet. I don't watch a lot of videos actually. Like, I just watch good guys, ADCC matches, some randomly. I don't watch everything. And even in that way, I still find enough interesting things that people do. Like the same thing, I promote all this late armbar stuff, super late. So it's like Vinny Magalhaes, Fabrice Verdum, GSP, Dan Hardy, Keenan Cornelius, Sean Roberts, So those things just stick out to me over time. And then I saw this already like 5-6 times, and I was like, there's something there that I don't see many people talking about it. Berniaki, what's the Island guy? Yeah, he was talking about something with Stephen Kesting about it. But I think they did it, one step further than I do. I went even back a little bit more, closer to what I can do. So they were playing with this. But the evidence was there. And now I call it reverse hitchhike. And I think it's even easier than the regular hitchhike. And so this evidence kind of sticks out to me. And if I see them repeatedly and against, Vinny Magalhaes, Fabrice Verdum, I was expecting the arm get broken.
Yeah.
Vinny is kind of flexible, but there was definitely something else there going on. And so I like those some other people I think I've seen my friend Martin Heid, my Estonian first black belt that lives in Finland at the moment. He's been studying, like he was doing analysis of Gordon matches and stuff. So he sees different things. But those, what I see, they just hit me in the face like really hard. Like I saw this those armbar escapes, and I got just like, you know, hit in the face. I had to study it. I knew I understand it. Somehow if I keep it. So certain information kind of interests me. And also like I said, I'm interested of extremes. So I like to be in a zero, and I like super late. So then for me, it's good to have like a, let's say, like a framework.
Yeah.
So it's a minimum, maximum, and that's my job to find out. And then we have a framework, and then we move within the frame. Because then, you know, there's different kind of timing escapes that go between that. But my job is to find, I feel like my job, I'm interested of to find the extremes, the framework, what's possible, and then we can fill it with other stuff, because the timings, there's so many different timings what we can do. And I'm definitely not saying the, you know, reverse hitchhikes and stuff are the best way. I'm just, that's the latest I know, latest we can do, explain. And what's the earliest? You know, earliest is not giving underhooks, you know. So, and everything, the YouTube is between there somewhere. So I'm kind of interested of those things, because I think the framework is necessary. What we're dealing with, how big is the bubble, you know? How big is the universe, you know? We have to kind of push it in science. Also, people pushing it all the time. They're finding out, you know, more light years. So, but what is the bubble we're working with? So I'm interested of the minimum and maximum.
Is the
yeah. So correct.
Is the way you approach BJJ then it's very, it sounds very conceptual, right? We're going from, I mean, it's very common. It's very common within the gym to for a coach to say, okay, I'm going to teach you, like you said, you know, I'm going to teach you 2 techniques today, and then another new technique at the end of on Friday, and then new technique the next week, and then by the end of the year, you have, you know, a collection of techniques that are all scattered. But you're seem to be, you're approaching it in a more conceptual way. Even your late armbar escape, right? The reverse hitchhiker. If I remember it correctly, it's you're scooting into your opponent's side, right?
Yeah.
But you don't really, at least from the videos I've seen, you don't really say, okay, this is the only way to do it. You just say, okay, these are some concepts that I'm playing with. You can try it out yourself. So it seems very conceptual.
I guess it's very dangerous always to say, like, you know, this is it, everything is ready. What we have learned from other science fields is nothing is never ready. They're pushing the boundaries by meters, and then it becomes a millimeters, you know. It always, science goes on. Always there's a new Intel processor, you know. It's always something else. So, but I think what was weird for me, if I look it back, I didn't think about it before I, you know, let's say I discovered reverse hitchhike or something, made it a name or something. But regular hitchhike works way better when you have a reverse hitchhike, because then it's a jab cross game. Okay. Because I'm gonna do also a video with fanatics about the late armbars, and then I'm trying to also give my, as much as I can do the regular hitchhike and then a reverse hitchhike, and I show how they work together. Because I think, you know, when you do a regular hitchhike, I think the counter, the regular hitchhike, is to put the arm on the hip, you know?
That's right.
Yeah. But if you do that, the reverse hitchhike is there. You cannot put the arm to that hip, because if the arm is on that hip, I will do the reverse hitchhike.
Right.
And if you counter the reverse hitchhike, that means you have to put the arm on the hip. Then I can do a regular hitchhike. So me controlling this arm and finally getting this arm barring has to be there. So I'm playing with jab and cross. I can do jab, jab, cross, jab, cross, jab. I can play with those angles, and they both work together. So I I think they both have to be there for it to work. And it just makes sense to have jab cross games, because then you can play a sport and it works forever because of the timing issue, because nobody has figured out jab cross in a boxing as a defensive. It still works after hundreds of years because of different rhythm patterns and all those things. So if it's only hitchhike and then arm to another hip, yeah, it's killed. But I will do the fake regular hitchhike and then do a reverse hitchhike, because you put the arm where I have to, you know, where it has to be for a regular hitchhike. Sorry, a reverse hitchhike. So, if I look at back, so that's what's strange, that we haven't seen people talking about it. You know, that it should be logical to have opposites always working, and then it can play. It's over, the regular hitchhike is over dominating, and already people are having like good answers for it by grabbing the, you know, the putting the arm on that other hip, and but when you have a regular hitchhike, it actually makes the armbar finishing better, because now you have to go with both. And that's the only way to get really good in armbars, because if you have both escapes and all other stuff we can do about armbars, and then you give people the biggest possibility, I think, to figure out how to finish an armbar in the end stage. Because so I think if you watched my videos, then you understand I'm always saying this, that people tap too early.
Yeah. You have this jab analogy that you always use. What do you mean by that exactly? Because you always draw the analogy between boxing and BJJ as an art. But you're saying, look, we gotta start approaching it as a sport. So what is the jab that you keep talking about in BJJ? How does it look like?
Jab is, you know, literally like a 1-1-2 or 1-2-1, or like would be like, I would like talking about this hitchhike thing. I would try to do like a fake hitchhike, you know, fake regular hitchhike, and I expect you to do this defense, and then I do a reverse hitchhike. But I would test it with my body. I would kind of test it. And then I would see your body mechanics, and do you fall for a fake? Yeah. Do you fall for a fake? And then if I feel it, you don't fall for a fake, and you don't pull the arm or the other hip, then I do the regular hitchhike. It's like, you know, like a jab, and I boom, and I really hit you, because there's no defense.
Okay.
But if I feel my jab creates a reaction in your body, that means I feel you want to torque the arm to another hip. Then I feel it. Then I know your body mechanics, because you can't hide it. And then I'm gonna do jab, and I'm gonna do like a regular hitchhike, and then right away jab cross to. So I play it like a combination.
Okay.
That I predict the future, because I know your body has to like a jerk, like a pull the other side, and that accelerates me to the reverse hitchhike, because you help me to go that side. So I'm using kind of like you know, in that sense, I call it sport. I had actually my good friend from Trinidad and Tobago messaged me and maybe said like I will be in some point trapped in that sport argument, but because I think he was right. But what I mean by it's at the moment I'm trying to drag the conversation from the art part to the sport, and then not all sport is good. You know, people in let's say in a weightlifting world also do crazy things with bozo balls and rubber bands, you know. So not everything is functional in a sport. So they do also like weird stuff, but we have to pull the conversation out of the art stuff to the sport part, and to talk about jiu-jitsu like wrestling or boxing. I'm not against the art part. I think it's just the martial arts. I don't know. People like that, you know. That's why some people are drawn to the martial art word, because it's you know, philosophy or whatever it is. I think it's tagged, you know, it's extra. It doesn't have to be there. It can be there also, but it's a cultural thing. But we have to train it as a sport, because we cannot go like, let's say, what I mean by that is by art and sport is many times you do like, let's say, far side armbar. Yeah. You do a side control far side armbar and you go like 10 repetitions. Yeah. But the bad part is it works different in a live situation. Understand? So we have to do this way. We have to see what is a reality. Yeah, you see what is our sport. Yeah, how people grapple, and we have to train the way it looks. Understand? Right? But because right now it is like we do a crazy warm up, we do like dead techniques, and then we spar. But sparring is sometimes, most of the times, very different the way we also learn techniques. So we have to learn as similarly techniques as the way we spar. Because in a sparring match, you have setups, you have those tricking things, you have feints, fakes, yeah? You misdirection. So we would have to teach jiu-jitsu like this, you know, like you also do boxing like this. You create those misdirection and then you hit the jab cross and finally leg kick, but all this misdirection, fakes and stuff are included into the technique. So, and then you spar and then you can actually use it the way you learned. So in jiu-jitsu, we just teach technique, and then mat rats can make it work because they are on the mat so much, and they developed a different timing to go to arm bars, different, because it could be like, let's say far side arm bar, it could be like, you know, you do a 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, you know, on your knees, and finally you add that arm, and then you do arm bars. But in reality, maybe you have to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then arm bar. Or maybe 1, 3, 4, 2, you know, and then arm bar. Understand? Different numbers and stuff. So in reality, it's different. So, and how do we create the drills and all the resistance and everything else to train it, to mimic it as much as we can? So this thing we learn would work the same way in sparring. Yeah, so it's, you know, that's the core of scientific method. You observe the nature, you do an experiment. If the experiment doesn't correlate with the nature, then the experiment is wrong. Yeah. So if the experiment is exactly like nature, the experiment was right. So I think we should teach it backwards. Okay. And it kind of kills a little bit. I think recreational people will maybe feel more sad because it becomes more like a sport, you know. I know some jiu-jitsu clubs are, you know, some people don't like to spar. They like the technique part, you know. They're learning technique without the resistance and they're feeling good. They're learning something new. And maybe the time comes to spar and they don't enjoy it that much because they're not good at this environment, because what they learned is not functional in that environment. Because when you actually learn a sweep from De La Riva or whatever, you have to know the basic reactions, you know, resistance, how they're gonna, so it's never gonna be like a, you know, somebody falls and you're in side control. In reality, there's gonna be turtling, fighting for a top, blah, 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 you know? And so how do you mimic that? So that's all my message. So that's the sport part. So it's not gonna be just crazy sweating and all those things, but I mean like, you know, playing it as a sport. So that's what I mean by art and a sport. I still think like a sport done in the highest level is a very good art form. So the terminology is, you know, they can, you know, kind of fuzzy, but I hope you understand what I mean. And also the listeners, that what I mean when it's art is kind of like a sport. Yeah.
So then I'm assuming the way you would instill this way of practicing is you would probably do a lot of positional sparring and then specific sparring as opposed to just pure drill. Okay, we're going to do dead drilling. Just do that, you know, for 30 minutes.
Yes. So our typical class, I actually want to do when this madness gets over. I was in some next Globetrotter camp. I would actually like to do my regular class, how I teach in a class, because I think some people have asked for it. A lot of people actually have asked for it. And how do I, you know, how do I teach a class? So basically we have 8 to 10 minutes of warm up. We still do like a running around and knee lifts and all those things, and some squat routines and animal movements and rolling, because for many people it's the only time they move during the week. So we do a basic warm up. But I would say if you train more than 2 times per week, so then you can maybe for warm up you can drill or some more sport specific drilling or something. But for that purposes, we still do a regular warm up for a everyday person. So they just move, you know, extensions and all kind of stuff. So, and then 20 minutes, is technique, maybe one or two, usually that's very usually connected. Some fixing mistake stuff and something simple that that could fit in that 20 minutes, you know, showing stuff they try, kind of dead, they talk to each other, they switch on their own, fixing mistakes, showing again. And then if you start the class at 6, then 6:10 is, you know, technique. 6:30 we start to drill. Pretty much that's the format most cases. And then 30 minutes we have 2 to 3 minute drills with resistance, progressive resistance, no talking. And then, and not in a first switch, but maybe in a second round we drill again, and then we have a feedback. So the defender or somebody that gave the resistance tells the other guy what was good, what could have been better. So then they get a specific personal feedback for them that's necessary, because I cannot monitor 20 people.
Yeah,
I see what's overall missing, but not what's personally missing. So they get a really, really good feedback, and we usually do a third drill also. Okay. And then we have a couple of minutes left to fix mistakes, and then we have a sparring. So then it's full hour. 30 minutes is drilled, and then we have a full hour of sparring. Some people spar, most people spar 30 minutes, some people, you know, 45 minutes and stuff. And then we have rules. I think that's very, very important. That example, when we did rolling back takes against the leg locks, then the rule was that the guard player more than average has to attack the legs. Yeah, he has to attack the legs more than average. Even you like it or don't, it doesn't matter. And then I could do rolling back takes against the, you know, against the leg locks. And if I go rolling back takes against the leg locks, then the risk taking is rewarded by lowering resistance of defense to 60% or something like this. Understand? So if I attack your legs, and if you're able to jump to my back, to, you know, try to do the technique we just learned in the class, and I will lower resistance to 60, and I would defend, but I will not destroy your attempt. And if the sparring moves already towards the back take, I can up resistance again. But that new thing we just studied, the resistance was lowered. So the risk is rewarded. Okay. And people are jumping to that because they know they get to play, because other person has to let them play. Yeah? Other way, if you just jump to new thing and the resistance is 100%, it's going to be destroyed, and your motivation is you know, goes down. So, and that's full 45 minutes for 30 minutes, whatever you roll, we have those rules. Okay. You have to lower resistance, and the risk has to be rewarded. So people can try new things right away in a sparring, and they want to try new things. And so, and then the sparring is purposeful. And then also what happens is when the topic changes, you know, sometimes we do 2 months, 1 month, or whatever, a couple of weeks, the topics, then the sparring is always different. Understand? So because the rules are forcing different sparring environments. So people cannot do those things they're good at, but their incentive is there to try new things. And then they can roll whatever they want or however they want during the open mats and all those things, you know. And also during the regular sparring, it's not like all the time they have to try new things, you know. They're still gonna do some things, but that thing was new. That thing, what was new, is also part of the sparring automatically. So retention rate is way better. Okay. So that's also the way we spar, because I see too much of this, like people after you know, class, they just roll and they end up doing what they're doing, not learning new things, not adding stuff because it's hard, because it's new. And then the more you do it, you don't train the new thing in a week, so it's gone already. So the retention rate is, and then you just lost everything. So, and I'm still amazed that actually this kind of methodology is actually very common in jiu-jitsu world. I know some people will go right away, no, we do this. But if you go around, you will, you know, some people do positional sparring and those things. But those, what I just explained, the lowering resistance and stuff, in those cases, it's not very common. I can understand those, you know, post drills, you know, somebody goes only guard passing, that's isolation, and those things are good, but we can go deeper. And so I think in that part, also this way, I'm emphasizing more sport. That's also I consider like a sport practice, more deliberate practice. As you can Google the term, that it's always meaningful.
Yeah.
Like so that's very important. So this is also kind of like from the art to the sport. So that's kind of, maybe I will find a better name for this sport thing, because it's too overall name,
Okay.
but so that's what I'm always mostly emphasizing. It's not, and art is very subjective, and in art I mean like it's dead, but also the sport is kind of art form. So it's, I probably, some smart people have to tell me how to use my terminology better, but if they listen to me, I think they understand what I'm trying to say.
And it reminds me, the way you're describing how you teach your student reminds me of the book Peak by Anders Ericsson, the neuroscientist. Is that?
Yeah, so I that's one of the books I usually recommend to people. That really kind of I really liked it. And that book is all about feedback, feedback loops, like Tiger Woods feedback loops, and so it's, and of course, I'm a big proponent of the feedback, and I always go like, why people we should all use feedback way more. And feedback is very weird thing that it's not, majority clubs don't use it in our world.
It's actually, I think, looked down upon.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing that you like, like smart ass, but people want to help each other. Yeah. And during the drills, you notice what your partner does good, what he could do better. And why not let them talk to each other? And with points that I give them to watch, they're not going to talk about some, random things that maybe white belts just can go like left a little bit with their feedback. But I can tell them what to monitor, for me. So because I'm a coach, I can't manage 20 people to see all the time what they're doing. So I tell them what to watch, and they criticize those points. And it can be a 50, 60 or 100 people class, and it can feel like a private class because of the feedback you get. And like every sports book talks about the feedback that is necessary. You make corrections, and you do it again, you make corrections. And it's so underused methodology. It's just I'm just crying for help here. And some people I know don't like it. Oh, I don't like the feedback and blah, blah, blah. But if you don't like the feedback, then it's your job to give feedback to all the 20 people personally. And you can't do it. It's impossible. So you have to, even if you like it or not, it's not about even that. So it kind of stresses me out usually. Then people say, oh, they don't use feedback. They're like, you're just making your job actually harder as a coach, and you're taking opportunity away from your students, so to speak, to get better, to feel that they're talked to, that their game is under magnifying glass by somebody, somebody takes care of them, other way it's overall feedback. Oh guys, everything seems to be okay, like regular feedback from the coach. That does nothing for your game. It's like overall you feel like, oh shit, it's just like there's nothing you benefit for it.
Yeah.
So I feel I'm with coaches who say like they don't let white belt and blue belt teach. I think in one context it's right, because white belts, blue belts, they don't have much knowledge what can be right and what could be wrong. But you can tell them what to watch. I can give them 3-4 points, do the resistance and watch those points. And also if they're training with other white belt, they don't need super specific feedback because they're white belts. They need overall feedbacks, that your elbow was in a wrong place, like this or that. So white belts do this, and that feedback is already decent. And then when they get like blue belt and purple, then you are able to give better feedback because they need a more detailed feedback because they're already in that level. So I don't understand those coaches and those arguments that say, oh, we don't let beginners to teach.
Yep.
Because I think beginners has to teach, because that's the best way to retain information, by talking about it.
Yes.
And if you're just doing the feedback, you gave people you gave people feedback that keep your elbows close, and then it's your time to drill. You look really stupid when you don't keep your elbows close, yeah, because you just told other person that keep your elbows close. So by talking about it, by explaining something to somebody, it's one of the best way to retain information. You know, that's what science says, yeah. So why not do it? And it's a social interaction, better making friends, you know, making social bonds, helping each other. And so there's so many other side effects that are good. So I don't know. I do it in my Globetrotter camps. Occasionally I've done it because classes are kind of short. So it's more like a lecture style, lecture type. But definitely I'm gonna press that button more so the feedback will go around, you know, through the clubs more, and people would feel the benefits of it.
Yeah, the book The Peak by Anders Ericsson, it opened my eyes and really changed the way I understood how we humans can learn best. You know, there's the final part of his deliberate practice, you know, when he says, look, feedback loop is crucial. If you want to become an expert in any field, you need feedback.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I don't know why I never thought about that, you know, before reading this book. But there's the other thing that got me thinking with when you were saying, you know, you let white belts or newcomers teach is, for the majority of people who come in to train BJJ tend to be adults, right? Maybe like 21 plus. And generally they are well educated and they know they're adults. They know they've learned how to learn for the most part. So what I find is sometimes there have been coaches who've said, if you're a white belt, you can't say anything. Keep your mouth shut. I'm going to show you, and then you guys go do this. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I don't like it because I actually dislike it a lot, because people are treating white belts as white belt people. And that is super dangerous, because if somebody has a white belt, usually, you know, they're a family member, they finished universities and stuff, and they're engineers.
Yeah.
They're pretty smart. Yeah. So that's why I like to talk to people also, like white belts and blue belts and the other people, to understand what they about, you know. And sometimes I just sit my mouth open just to see like how smart they are. So for people to say, oh, you're a white belt, they have studied, they have done, you know, homework in schools, they have lectured, they have helped others in school, you know, they know how to give feedback. And if they're not, that's the craziest thing. We treat the people like white belt people. They're actually quite smart. So why not use it? They're not very educated in jiu-jitsu maybe, but they know how to constructively criticize. They you know, so it's a really silly argument that just, oh, white belts and they're gonna ruin and they're gonna show a new sweep from the YouTube, you know. But I would say it's like, but let the sweep from YouTube be like a treat. That if they told the white belt, or if they told then white belts to keep their elbows close, you know, then I don't mind they're teaching somebody the crazy YouTube sweep also. Understand? So let them have a treat. So if you did everything to white belt as a blue belt, you told them some 0 point, and you made sure that the elbows are close and all those, you know, points, 0 points, structure is solid. I don't mind that you show the goofy sweep. Yeah. So it can never be that strict, you know, that you only have to teach like linear on the best thing. It's the teaching jiu-jitsu, it's always messy. It's not a linear like road. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's very easy to cut it, you know, like white belts, blue belt don't teach. But I think also by helping them how to teach, like I said before, it's one of the best ways to retain information, by explaining something to others. And then also, if you start teaching when you're white belt, then by the time you get a black belt, you have 6 to 10 years of teaching, you know, experience. Because you start by just teaching the overall things as a white belt, keep your elbows close, and then it becomes more specific, you know. So it's not going to be like you never taught, so to speak, and in a black belt level you're an awesome teacher. Not going to happen. So as soon as you are able to understand something, it's pretty much, you know, in a first day You can also give constructive feedback. You can express your opinions by the things I will tell you to watch what people do.
Mm-hmm.
And your job is to give a good feedback so they will understand. And you also feel good when they actually did something and you made them better. And also, if I feel you made me better, I want to help you back, because, if you did a shitty job, then I'm not going to help you also. By the nature, I'm going to do a less effective job. So incentive is there.
Yeah, that's it.
And so, yeah, I think the argument is flawed, and the people who said that they're lazy in the mind, and they will lose the argument of not letting white belts and blue belts teach in 5 seconds. So a lot of those, like, easy, like, at first it looks logical, oh, white belts and blue belts shouldn't teach. No, it's yes, maybe not teach a class, but they can handle small tasks. So to throw a baby out with the baby, the bathing water, what's the called?
Yeah, throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, bathwater. Yeah, so that's kind of dangerous. So give them a small task they can handle, and they can handle bigger tasks, and that's how you grow people.
Yeah.
So I find a lot of those arguments there's a lot of flawed arguments in jiu-jitsu, and it's just an easy fix. Oh, just don't teach, but it's quite dangerous. We have to be smarter.
There's a very cultish mindset in jiu-jitsu where it's like somehow if you're the black belt, if you're the black belt, then you have all the knowledge to all the world. And so if a new someone who's, say, blue, purple, whatever, they may have a different technique or a different way of doing something. The black belt always, not all black belts, but there are certain black belts who will say, no, this is completely wrong. You have to do it the way I'm teaching it, and there's no other way, which seems it's a very, very narrow way of looking at jiu-jitsu. We have jiu-jitsu. You can incorporate folk style wrestling into jiu-jitsu. You can incorporate Greco wrestling. So I had this a buddy of mine who did Greco wrestling in I forget which country he was in, but anyways, he came in, and I was like, okay, have you done jiu-jitsu before? He's like, no. So I was like, okay, what position do you feel most comfortable in? It's like, well, the most, I did Greco wrestling, but I did freestyle wrestling as well. So I'll start with the head and arm on you. He's like, okay. So we started there, and I couldn't get out. And he's stocky and he's strong and he's very technical in the wrestling. So then afterwards, I was like, oh, okay. Can you actually show me how to do this? Because it's not like I haven't learned it, but I've learned it. But it's just the way he was doing it was very different. And so, in terms of your students in class giving feedbacks, have you found that when they actually are giving feedbacks to other students, that you've seen their rate of improvement go up much more significantly? I mean, I don't know how you would quantify that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to measure when you're always in the environment, If somebody would go away for 3 months and come back, maybe they would see something. But I would say it's different. And I'm not saying they're gonna skyrocket. Then we're producing all the best athletes. Clearly not. That's not the case, and we have some competitors. But I would say they're getting better. I am maybe too harsh with the belt side, and we're kind of, let's say, holding them back, or we're kind of stricter maybe than we have to. But they're getting good. And I think this kind of freedom of, like you said, of giving feedback and all those things, and kind of freedom, I don't know how to call it better. There is something different in that when you give that freedom of feedback to people, and when they roll with beginners, and it's always fun to watch how they explain to beginners, because now the new generation is coming up. I think it's interesting because like I said, defensively, that's weird to roll with them. because they're shutting down themselves. They're just everything you have to dig. It's not gonna be like they're gonna winning the fights, but it's not gonna be. It's not at the moment like rolling with regular white belts and blue belts. You make a submission left or right. I have to work for things, and so I'm very intrigued and very fascinated because it's still a big lab, like a laboratory. So I'm finding how my ideas are working, And also when I watch people give feedback to beginners in like, oh, they're talking about those postures, and they're somehow, because everybody wants to give feedback, but when you don't have those postures, it's kind of hard to give feedback because it's all scattered around. So the zeros and all those things, they're giving you better base for giving feedback stuff. So, and helping this way each other, I think it makes people better. And and also they can be sure that what they're giving is, let's say, valuable. Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't have those 0 points, you give feedback here, and maybe it doesn't help so much. So I think my higher belts, blue belts and up, they're actually helping the beginners they're making them better faster. Because at the moment I think we have 4 black belts in my club.
Yeah.
We have two brown belts. So I think, and I think bunch of, not so much, but a bunch of purples and stuff. I feel we have to push more to up. So the purples and browns are more there, and they drag everybody up. So we're not so top heavy yet. So, but I think they're getting there. So I clearly see a bunch of purples and stuff happening during the next 6 months or a year. And so I think it's gonna be just multiply. It's getting better. And I like to think that this methodology has helped them, to understand, to play. And definitely this sparring thing I explained, that praising stuff and taking risk, and it's gonna be a reward. I feel this has changed a lot of things, and it's actually not always I've done this. I've done similar things, but this methodology I've used maybe a year, 2 years or something, and it's clearly the playfulness in a sparring matches and stuff, and regular rolling. I clearly see a difference that people are implying. We did like a calf crush class, in a couple of months ago, I think. And a single submission calf crush is super weird to put into the game. How do you force it to happen? So, but somehow we pulled it off, and I would say like 80% of people did a calf crush in their first couple of rolls during the sparring. I was like, oh my God, this is like wonderful. That because it's usually risky to just put the single submission in. How do you create those situations? So I forced bottom guy to play something, and then top guy could roll and stuff, So, but so that has been wonderful to see, that kind of forced praising and reward stuff, incentives. And I would say it's a couple of years I've done it, but now this playfulness and stuff has brought people up faster than before.
What changed your mind? If
I don't know.
Yeah.
So if you ask me why I did certain things and how it started, and I don't know, probably some book. And let's say somebody asks me, somebody did actually, like, Priit, how did you come up with a panda, sitting turtle?
Sitting turtle, yes.
Then I don't know. I knew always I liked Tellus.
Okay.
Tellus plays it a bit, but I don't know why I started, intensively play panda somehow, and that I felt that something is there to study it as a position, because I knew wrestlers are doing it, wrestling sit out. Yes. Panda is more forward, wrestling sit out is more leaning back. So there's opposite, jab and cross. So wrestlers are doing it, Tellus was doing it. So I don't know, if you ask me how come Priit you did like a sitting turtle, and now it's kind of like my signature thing that people know me about, that no other coach is usually teaching. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why. So it's kind of hard to look back. And this methodology, I think it was some kind of, evolution that we already did maybe some, definitely rolling in sparring. We did maybe in a couple of rounds, special rules, that only try only if you do like arm bar, like side control arm bar stuff, that maybe we said you can only do arm bars in the first 3 rounds, you know, no other submissions. That everybody had to go to the arm bar, you know, and then after the 3rd round, you can do all submissions. So that was probably the more simple version of this, you know. You just narrow it. That's what a lot of people do. It's not very new, you know. But then maybe we played with the rules, and maybe how to, you know, force the defender do something, then attacker can do something, and then it's all kind of mixture of all rounds. So then praising, rewarding stuff, because otherwise, like we did like a crab ride system, like a couple of months, upside down stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to be there if the resistance is 100%, you know. People destroy it because it's so goofy thing to do, upside down, and the leg work is crazy. You have to be dexterity and, you know, crazy like pummeling skills. And if somebody just adds 100% resistance, you're not going to spend time there because there's no way you're going to stay there. So also there we had like 60% and guys like pummeling back, you know, dealing with late defense more. So the guy that does the grab right can still, you know, get his time there. And so that was the only way to force those complex games on people. Otherwise, the motivation to do them was hard because it's like nobody could stay there. So we had to come up with some rules, because rolling back takes against leg locks, it's not very, very easy thing to do, because you have to jump behind people's back, like behind the hips, and crab rides. And so I think this rewarding thing is one of the best ways to, you know, incentivize people, that because it's not like a single move, and it's full game is there actually, and it's quite complex, and it's not very, you know, very slow in that sense.
Right.
So I think it's kind of like evolution, that I just had to figure out how to, you know, force certain things in games. And I feel that I didn't do it before. So I would say a couple of years. It's kind of crazy because I would wish I would do it all the time. I would do it all the time. Because probably we did something similar, but clearly this is different. And as much as I've been talking to people, that then people also are like, oh, this is interesting, and how do you have rewards and stuff, and, you know, so we'll see how it evolves.
Do you have any way of do you have a systematic way of incorporating new ideas that you're playing with? So let's say before you started playing Panda, right? Let's go like right before you started playing Panda. How did you incorporate it? How did you start doing it? Were you like, okay, I see this, I see these wrestlers, they do the sit-outs all the time, so let me just try from that position, leading back.
That's the crazy part. If you ask me, I'm starting to smile when you ask this, because I don't know.
Oh, you don't know at all?
No, I literally don't know, because it's like a slow process of adding certain things, playing, and finally, oh, it's a Panda. But why did it happen? And I have no memory. It's the same thing how Turtle happened. Let's say, if you Turtle 0 point, if you ask me, Priit, what did you do before this Turtle 0 point? What was your turtle like? I have no record. What's the record? Recollection of this. I don't know what I did in Turtle. I have, because there was no way of systemizing my knowledge.
Okay.
Understand? So right now I know exactly what I do in Turtle, like what sweeps and stuff. If I abandon something, go back to 0, add another sweep. Right now I can tell you exactly what I'm doing. I have like a you know, before this and after this period, with all this grilled chicken stuff, you know, open guard stuff. Yeah, probably, you know, it happened after I got my black belt. 2012 and 2013 was the Calvao and Braulio match that started the open guard thing for me. And probably, you know, somebody gave me a black belt, so probably my guard was okay. But if you ask me, what did I do before grilled chicken? What guard I played? And I was like, I have no clue. I have no, because there was no system of that, you know. It was probably random sweeps and just pummeling and everything. But now we have that rotisserie chicken position that I always return back to and fight from that position. And Turtle is, you know, you turn around, and basically butterfly guard is that position sitting up, and then you hang your head, it becomes a Panda. So all those kind of, we call it pocket knife, you know, like everything is crouched in. So now I can, there's definitely in each position, there is after and before. And I know exactly what I do. If you ask me about turtle or grilled chicken or whatever. So it's very weird to think that I have no like memory of what happened before. And panda is also probably I did something, you know, like that semi worked. And then I figured out kind of keep my elbows are tucked and then it worked. And then it's okay. Then it's panda. And I remember still in 2017 when I did it in Globetrotter camps. I think it started. People looked at me as I was crazy because I was sitting, you know, like facing back towards them and did my, you know, panda and stuff. And they were like, "What the F is that?" And I was testing it, seeing how it worked. And then I didn't know I knew it was working enough to do it, but everybody thought I was crazy because not many people, you know, a lot of people don't like tellus. And turtle is, you know, bashed on in the jiu-jitsu community. Don't play turtle and all those nonsense sentences as, you know, turtle is a transitional position and all this crap. Every escaping position is actually transitional position, but to make a transition happen in the fastest time, you have to spend there the most time. You understand? So mount bottom is a transitional position, but to make a quick escape, you have to stay there the longest, you know? So in a fight, you cannot stay still. So just to elaborate more, usually I've heard all my life that turtle is a transitional position, but those people are wrong. And every escaping position is a transitional position. Yeah. You don't want to stay in mount bottom in bunches also. So you escape right away when mount happens, you know, and that's a quick escape, you know, quick answer to that very, very dangerous problem. But to make that quick answer, you have to have the biggest knowledge capacity. That means you have to stay in a mount the longest. So of course, I'm not saying in a MMA fight, you have to stay in a turtle, you know, get out, create a scramble, you know, like stand up, blah, blah, blah. But to make all those decisions, you have to stay there the longest. Yeah. And then I'm not staying as long as I do sometimes, but you have to have enough experience to make a quick decision under pressure. So that means you have to have exposure to this a lot. So to call it transitional position is just stupid. And turtle gets a lot of bashing from in jiu-jitsu, so I'm trying to slowly change it all the time. And I've already get so much feedback that people like more turtle. They understand now, they're safe. Somebody actually posted on my Facebook timeline that now the Tellus DVD makes more sense because Tellus he shows a little bit, but Tellus doesn't show on his DVDs how he's so super safe. So I'm trying to answer that problem by actually saying what Tellus does, I think. And then Tellus's TVD makes so much sense because all those sweeps are actually very hard to pull off when you're not safe in turtle because you're just getting under attack all the time and you don't have time to pull off those sweeps. So when you understand those 0 points and how to stay safe, then the Tellus's DVD is like magic. Because if you fail, you go back to 0 point. If you fail, go back, then try again, finally pull it off. So I'm advocating more that because clearly Tellus has more experience. He knows more sweeps. He has done it in the highest level of our sport. I can't compete with that. But what sadly he's not explaining, I don't know, well, is how he's so safe. So my DVD and everything was more about just how to stay super safe, do nothing. So that's what I'm good at. I understand, and that's how his system evolves. You know, those pandas and everything else. So I feel that's I don't know. Those ideas are for me easy. And and building complexity, I would say that's your style.
Yeah. I think with ADCC, turtle's definitely going to become more important because it's 0 points in ADCC, right? Switch to turtle. Everyone goes to turtle the moment they feel attacked.
Yeah, that's what that's what's also like, I don't know, Latlan guys are also talking about it. That he actually gave me props in somewhere in Reddit, I think, also. So, and I still don't see people studying turtle. I don't know. Telles should be like the most, I don't know, most booked coach. You know, people have now 2 years again to, you know, to prepare for ADCC.
Yeah.
And 2 years is pretty good for making a wrestling better and also turtle.
It's plenty of time.
So, yeah, so I could help. You know, why not? Telles knows probably what he's doing. So, but you still see like still quick back takes in, you know, ADCC and all those things. So it's still not there. Definitely, if you compare to people's open guard and, you know, passing, the escaping part is definitely lagging behind. And if somebody passes and stuff, so definitely there's a level difference right away. So a guy in top is way better than usually the guy in bottom.
Yeah. What did you think of the ADCC that just happened? Did you watch it?
Actually, I haven't watched it fully.
Okay.
So I only see like single matches maybe. So now I have I'm not in current quarantine. But I think I will find a way to watch the ADCC now in some point. Right now I'm very busy with Assassin's Creed. Odyssey. I'm already playing. I played a little bit before, you know, 6 months before this. So altogether I'm played with previous maybe 15 hours. Right now it's 135 hours.
Oh my goodness, that's
so
crazy.
So this game never ends. So probably Estonia will be quarantined at least April also.
Ooh, okay.
So probably in May, we don't know at the moment. So I have a month left. So I know I have everything thought out. I will watch ADCC and I play more a little bit. So I'm dragging it out.
Have you started incorporating the leg lock game into the way you teach in your teaching generally, actually?
I think, let's say, we're trying to implement leg locks in our gym where we were just starting with a 50-50 game before this virus thing happened.
Yeah.
I would say, if I say we're average as a gym, I think it's correct. I don't like to brag about my leg locks, but I'm not there yet. Let's say to feel as comfortable as I do in side control or back escapes, whatever, because I have to understand it more. But I don't know. It's just in the context of average, I know enough that leg locks and stuff, but it's still fascinating, the transition and all those things. So I'm definitely catching up. I love to roll with heel hooks, both in and out or whatever. I do heel hooks in our gym. Heel hooks are allowed in a gi also. We do them since beginners. After a beginner's course, we have actually like a leg lock class, leg lock beginner's course, and leg lock main group in a Fridays. So we teach heel hooks to beginners. We do heel hooks in a gi. I think it's even harder because there's no slipper. You can't pull the legs out. There's more friction. And so I don't do IBJJF jiu-jitsu. I just do jiu-jitsu, and then people compete under different rules. So definitely, I would say I'm catching up. And knowing me, definitely I'm trying to, systemize it. But I think people overall, what I've seen, are doing a pretty good job of defending leg locks. Rusi Malpahala's Alan Belcher match was a wonderful study. Then Gary Donnon, the EBI matches, Gary Donnon, Eddie Cummings, the match they had, it's like a leg lock instructional. So, and also, by the way, the heel turn, you have a heel this way. This is a regular hitchhike. You turn, this is a reverse hitchhike, They both work similarly. So, and the late armbar is very similar to the heel slip in heel hook.
Where you turn your heel inwards?
Yeah, they slip the heel, you know, very, very good guys in the end, they slip the heel. And so when people usually criticize me, oh, you're doing super late arm bars, it's bad and it's dangerous. Look at the heel hook escapes people do, like super late, like that's the evidence that I'm running with, and we can do the same in arm bars, in every choke, in all the submissions actually. We can have a late stuff. So that's the hypothesis. Because right now, I think I was studying and trying to understand also Darces, Marces, Farces, Barces, Larses, Anacondas, and all those things also. And so then Kimuras also, that was randomly studying. But leg locks, yes, probably knowing me, I will try to maybe systemize it, you know. But I feel that the work is already. I'm not gonna say like, oh, I'm gonna revolutionize the escapes, you know, because somehow people are acting way better during the leg lock escapes than in positional escapes in upper body, and it's very strange. And all this, you know, there's Carrie Tonon clips in YouTube that you can see free, that when he points the heel and just gives the leg away, you know, a little bit tilted, so you can pull the leg out right away. So there is also evidence of those escaping 0 points as a positional 0 point. You can put your leg in that there's no Achilles, there's no heel hook, there's no knee bar. And it's interesting also what I see through my lens, that there is positions you can put your leg in and you're safe. And you just have to keep the angle. If they, you know, your angle is this, if they go here, your angle is to keep it away. So you watch Carrie Tonon and stuff, how he's willing to give his leg away to get the leg from the opponent is actually pretty impressive. And clearly there's a like those positions, 0 points, because leg locks are weird because it's a position and submission hold at the same time. So there's probably, you know, some positions that people are scrambling about at the moment, that maybe we can say, okay, this is the position, and then position, and between that's the transition, but we can differentiate those things. They're solid enough, because sometimes it all looks like a big scramble, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we can do like a still frames to chunk it out a little bit and teach them, like, you know, pandas and all those things. Everything is transition, but we can chunk it, you know, with the big chunks that we can separate them. They're different enough. So we can teach them separately, and then in the future, I always say, never stop. Everything is a mess, you know, everything is a movement. So I can see myself, but I'm just enjoying, I think, what other people are bringing to the table at the moment, and systemizing the leg lock defense also, because clearly there's more systems of leg locks, how to attack. And I don't think I'm hurting anybody, but I would want to see like systematic leg lock DVD defense, about defense. Okay. Not like random, you know, you can see like people are putting out random defense videos, you know. It's like random here, random against heel hooks, but what about early heel hook, little bit later heel hook, later, and no heel hook, you know? Yeah. Let's give me like 5-6 timing issues with the leg locks. Let's show the depth, you know? Usually those leg lock defenses are very random, you know? So that I think needs to be more studying, you know, what's early, what's later, what is our range. So I wish maybe, you know, I would, if I do it long enough, I would have my say, and if I can prove it also, then it makes sense to listen to me. Because with the escapes, you know, I can pull it off. So that's why people should listen. In leg locks, I'm enjoying what other people are putting out, and I'm trying to catch up, and we'll see if I'm able to explain it, then it makes sense and I can do it, and then it becomes a time to listen to me in that area also.
Do you think that, so now with the leg lock, so when the ADCC, the one that just happened, everyone was expecting a lot more the leg lock, leg entanglement games, but there's actually not that much. There's you know that, what's his name, School of Grappling on Instagram,
Yes.
He has the breakdown of ADCC, and it's like the rear naked strangle or choke, whatever it is. That's very high. The percentage of getting that is very high, and I think it's like inside heel hook the next. But it's a significant number lower. So, but something else that he put out on the stats was how people got into those positions, dominate. What is it? The dominant top position. It was all through the majority, if I remember correctly, is from single legs. Attacking single leg, standing, attacking single leg, and then taking the back or leg dragging, and then sweeping them. Do you think that? So right now, when we watch the ADCC, or even if you watch the ADCC, the one in 2017, and you watch the stand-up game, and obviously if you watch the Pan Americas or any of the wrestling, there's a significant difference in the way that the wrestling's done. But in terms of actually implementing wrestling into jiu-jitsu, how difficult do you think it is? Or is it difficult at all?
I think it's different sport because we can grab the head, wrestlers can't. And we can have Kimura grip, wrestlers can't. So it's a little bit easier to do those things. But also wrestling is different because we don't have penalties. I think that
you mean for stalling?
Yeah, it's crazy that people can walk backwards.
Yeah.
So in wrestling, they can't step backwards. You just have to go forward, and that's like a particle collider. It just creates mistakes. You just go, and finally you have sparks and mistakes. So I think that's different. In the aggressivity level, it's a little bit there. It's more. It's still aggressive, but it's not like with a penalty. You have to go forward. And yes, it's different sports. We can go to legs, and we have different things. But I would wish just the stand-up part, or also just jiu-jitsu part, just more penalties. More stalling calls, and I don't know how to solve it in that sense. I know in wrestling, if you get a single leg guy sprawl, nothing happens, 3-5 seconds, reset, stand up. Yeah. I don't know how you do it in jiu-jitsu, but we can have like somebody holds the grip in 10 seconds, nothing happens.
Yeah.
We should have a stalling call. Boom, let go. Stand up. It's a sport. We want to see action. I know it's like, oh, you're taking away more option to finish Kimura, but nothing happened. It was a stalemate. So we somehow all this wrestling and ADC kind of pushing it, the wrestling part, the rules are messed up.
Okay.
So I think that has to be fixed. But I think the wrestling part is good. And you said it's changing because now the leg lock threats, or let's say also creates more the back threats, because people are attacking legs and they get more sweeps and back takes for it. And again, like somehow upper body attacks or in, but the setups are different, So it's a fun evolution. I'm enjoying it. Now Lachlan Giles brought the 50-50 back, the way he did it. Many people were missing. I also saw some connection. I was not that bright to say it, and Lachlan said he was watching matches and stuff and seeing that 50-50 would dominate. I also saw some indication, but I was not that bright that put that like 2 and 2 together. But I know that people were, even our guy in Estonia, one of the video guy, the black belt, I do videos. Also, he was the first guy that started to do leg locks in Estonia like 5-6 years ago. So, and because we were watching what good guys were doing, but everybody kind of, excluding Ryan Hall, didn't use 50-50, yeah?
Yeah.
Everybody said that 50-50 dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Ryan Hall was all 50-50. So even Danaher guys, they avoided it. But so it was kind of, we didn't do it, but now we understand it was not studied well, and probably everybody's now, buying Ryan Hall DVDs and watching what Lachlan does and watching all the 50-50, even in jiu-jitsu matches, there's instructionals. So to make more sense of it. So it's still a weird evolution happening, and with wrestling we see at the ADCC. Still, I don't know if you compare to NCAA, we're not wrestlers yet, I think people, I don't know, they don't have enough time, or the sport rules don't push it so much, but we still don't look like wrestlers. I think we have long way to go. Everybody should look like Ricky Rodriguez, you know? And I didn't see the match, but they said some NCAA wrestler actually took Ricky down, yeah? There was
in ADCC?
No, in some other wrestling match.
Oh. Are you talking about Nicky Rod, the Danaher guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his name? Sorry.
Nicky Rod.
Yes. Sorry. I was saying the wrong name then. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that? Pat Downey took him down. Pat Downey.
So there's a level of wrestling, you know.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So, but I don't actually. What also the other discussion is, I don't mind that our sport is butt scoot heavy, and I don't mind that. Oh, it's manly, and I think it's false, because takedowns are man-made, and the stand-up part is man-made. And if you let's say, if you give up in a grappling world, if you give absolute freedom, let's say submission wins, yeah. There's no pins and no nothing. I know the idea of pinning somebody makes sense, and one of the safest ways to show your superiority. But if you take that away, then if I know you're a stronger guy in wrestling, I will sit down. Why would I stand up? Yeah. So I don't know how to, where do I put this argument of, you know, because if you took all the rules away that I will submit you, yeah, then you tap. That's the ultimate win. I would butt scoot. So, and then I understand, because I also don't know, I'm biased. Yeah, I know the two guys are wrestling. One is butt scooting. It looks like, you know, like you wimped out, you know, you chickened out. But that is our sport. That is the ultimate form of grappling. And then somebody decided, no, two men standing up, that's a manly way, you know, that's man-made. And we're so used to the visual that all this butt scooting seems like, oh, you just chickened out. So I think we're all wrong bashing all those things, and maybe we just should accept that our sport, the purest form of grappling, the submission wins, looks like that, and we're just so used to the wrestling match and everything else, then it looks weird. But whose fault is that? Yeah. Maybe it's a fault of our predecessor. What's the word?
Predecessors.
Yes, predecessors.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe their fault. But clearly, the purest form, if submission matters, this is what happens.
Right.
Even both guys can butt scoot. Even that is our sport.
Yeah, I mean, you could have aggressive butt scooting. Nicky
Yes.
Ryan, Gordon Ryan's little brother, when he's butt scooting, he's aggressively attacking his opponent.
Yeah. So why not? Maybe let's accept that this is our sport. Stop this. Oh, this is if your man is butt scooting, you have a girlfriend or something. You know, you have those, a lot of memes, and they're bashing, but let's just accept this is our sport. So we have to put that argument somewhere, and look at it like a neutral, you know. So, because maybe wrestling got it all wrong. I understand it now, you know, when you have weapons and all those things change, you know. But as a purest form of grappling, that's what it is. So I'm not saying that we should not do wrestling and stand up, but I think the argument is also sometimes flawed. And I think also we haven't found a very good way of incentivizing all this wrestling stuff, because wrestling, you know, when you do a big throw, 5 points, and you just drop somebody on your butt, it's 2 points. But in our grappling matches, everything is 2 points.
Everything is 2 points. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think if you land in side control, maybe it's 4 points, or I don't know. So I'm already like 2 weeks.
Do you have to pass to get?
Maybe even if you land on, let's say, if you land in side control, maybe it's a short drop or big drop. But it's the same. There's no incentive to do a big throw. Yeah. Do we have to have big throws? Do we have to not? Some throws are bigger, you know. So in wrestling, we also incentivize that, because it is the harder thing to do, to have a bigger arch. So, but I think in wrestling rules, the wrestling is more thought out in those rules. us is like just takedown, you know. There's more to that. So I think, and I don't see a lot of discussion changing anything in ADCC, because it's not democracy, you know. It's not that countries can vote, let's change the rules, let's debate about the rules, let's make things better. No, there's no debate. Nobody's challenging those things. And yeah, so that's kind of sad. So
I've heard that ADCC rules hardly have changed since it started.
Yeah, so that's crazy. I don't go with the wrestling, or sometimes in some point they change the rules very often, you know. Then it was also kind of bad athletes that didn't know what to prepare for. But clearly there has to be a debate, like democracy and stuff. But until companies are running sports, clearly we cannot have the debate, or when it even happens, it's super slow process.
There's have you?
Yeah, sure.
There's the have you heard of the Parabellum Quintet that happened in Canada, in Toronto?
No.
Did you hear about that? It's by Parabellum Gym down in Toronto. My buddy trains there, but their coach, I forget what his name is, but he actually implemented the system, the sort of wrestling system into this jiu-jitsu quintet rules. So he put stalling. So I think if I remember the rules correctly, if you're fighting and you keep stalling and moving backwards, if you do this 2 times, you get a stall. You get one. I think you get -1. And then I think if you do it 3 times, you get this DQ'd, or 4 times. So that way I think the whole thing is up on BJJ Fanatics. I think it's just Parabellum Quintet. And so you actually see more engagement in standing. Obviously, there are a lot of people that just sat down and then did aggressive butt scooting. But that was one example I could think of where the rules.
Also, Sakuraba Quintet did also.
Oh, that's right. Thing. Yeah.
Close guard 5 seconds, I think. You know.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, I think the close guard was if somebody pulled close guard, they do nothing. Ref was already like pointing fingers, and they were I think aggressive enough with stalling, and it was still over mismatches and everything else that made it fun more. But they were so close guard it's like obvious, if you just keep it for stalling, just don't let go the move, just let it go. But it seems close guard, just another topic would be close guard is so holy to jiu-jitsu,
That's what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah, it's like blasphemy. Like if you're in a quintet, 5 seconds close guard, you have to open. But it's close guard. How can you open? It's like if you stay in mount and don't do nothing in a fight, because your goal is to submit. And if you stall in a position and you get a stalling because your progression is towards submission. So that's our sport, That's so you can whine about it, but you're taking a dominant grip, and like in judo, if you get a belt grip, if you get 5 seconds, you either throw or let go. Because you have a dominant grip, you can stall the match. So that means, if the goal is the throw, and our goal is not a pin, but a submission. So you're holding a dominant position for stalling. So that's penalized. So, but close guard is so holy in jiu-jitsu, but it's so misrepresentation, and it drives me nuts usually.
What is it that you don't like about it? So what is it about close guard that that makes you upset the way it's currently in its current form?
It's overtaught. It's taught as an ultimate thing to beginners.
Okay.
But if you look evidence, do you see close guard dominating their sports? No. Yeah. So with a white belt and blue belt teaching, it's very easy to say don't teach. Yeah. We know it's wrong to say that. So, and with close guard also, it sounds logical for a white belts and whatever to tell them, you start with the close guard submissions. Because it's a steady position, everything else, yeah. But if you see them roll, I think you see that close guard submissions are not that dominating. Those things happen differently. And by the way, when was the last time you saw a hip pump in a high level?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
When was the last time you saw? Only Kimura I know from the close guard is what Jacare did to Marcelo.
Oh yeah.
So, but you understand what I mean? If those techniques is like they're the best, it's I think Kimura is better from half guard and from side control. Yeah. So even I think some hip pumpish stuff is from half guard actually better. Kind of like bump over sweeps, but the usual trick question, maybe you've heard me asking this in seminars, but it's a trick question. I ask people what is more fundamental, close or open guard, and usually 60% of the people, they say close guard is more important. Yeah, this sounds logical also, because that's what most gyms are doing also. Yeah, first day, close guard armbar or something. You know? And then, but I usually say, like, you have to ask about the topic, you have to ask questions from different angle. Yeah, and sometimes you get a different answer. So if I asked you before, which is more fundamental? Yeah, seems logical, close guard is more fundamental. Yeah, but if I ask you, without what guard you cannot play, then the answer is open guard. That makes also open guard more fundamental, because without the close guard, you actually can play jiu-jitsu. And I would say open guard, some people go like, oh, but MMA is close guard. Well, MMA is different close guard. Also, feet on the hip is better to, get away from punches and stuff. Yeah. So when you saw my videos, I emphasize closeness. I think the closeness as a close guard is more essential. Closeness. Yeah, keeping the neckties, making it easier. So they cannot stack forward and they don't posture up. So both directions are covered, because most of the people that are, defending against people that posture up. But I say stacking in is one of the best ways to kill close guard, and there's so much evidence about it. And so I'm saying closeness is a better defining word for a close guard, because everything works the way it meant to be when they're close. Overhook, triangle, omoplata situation works when, one hook here, one leg is in a hip, and we're very close. Arm drags, arm bars, everything works when my knees are pulling them forward to the chest. And then I have legs crossed, legs on the hips, legs under the hooks, legs over the hooks, and some hybrids. Yeah. And so closeness defines the distance for a close guard to work. And then I can use my all 4 leg positions. And so I can do hook sweeps and everything else. So everything is, I'm not attached to keeping the legs closed. You just want your opponent close. Yeah. So I find if you define it by closedness, then people are afraid to open. But a lot of triangle setups are actually one leg on the hips. And I like close guard. I'm not saying close guard is bad or whatever. I play close guard. I like arm drags. I like flower sweeps and everything else. But I find if people posture up, I usually open up my legs myself. Because if they have any knowledge about good posture and how to stand up, they're away anyway. Yeah. And in competition environment, I can drag them a little bit. I can drag the time. I can keep my legs closed 10 seconds more, win the fight. It's a strategy. So this depends on environment a little bit. But I'm not attached. It's like the same way I'm not attached to De La Riva guard. If somebody kills my hook, I move on, If you posture in, posture down, I do my best to change up and, So I think it's a rotisserie chicken, that grilled chicken position. And then spider, De La Riva, close guard, X guard, everything is a distance management. So in my, I did a little bit rush there. I was a little bit rusty after a, month break or something. But my last video on my YouTube also tries to explain that. So I think just it makes more sense. All the X chokes, loop chokes, everything works better when they're close already, like neck is broken. Yeah. It works right away in MMA. Usually the close guard top and also close guard bottom is one of the weirdest things to teach in jiu-jitsu to beginners, because beginners think street, you know, they want to do it for fighting, and then we have to teach them the sport. So if you teach them like somebody's posture up in a close guard, and usually people are like, why they're there, you know, I get punched in the face here. So to keep them in a distance, you know, and then you can explain them, they're punching you, you're keeping your knees in, you know, close behind their back, you're pulling them forward, you're hugging, like, you know, Gracie stuff a little bit, you know, hug the head, overhook, whatever it is. You can have actually this also, and then pull your knees, you know, put your knees under those elbows and stuff, you know, as a shin spider guard. There's evidence, you know, Nogueira and Fedor Emelianenko, Fyodor, actually, in Russian language. So it works as an MMA guard. It goes well with all the Gracie brothers, how they explain the, you know, all the 6-month combative curriculum in a guard. So it's easier to do. And also when I do it from top, I do all the, you know, neck grabbing and posting and all those things stacking in. And it also makes sense for beginners because it's fighting right away. Otherwise, you have to sit back, play the kind of weird game, and nobody actually understands why you have to do it. Because in a street, you would punch somebody in the face or do different things. And I actually teach, we teach using a stack, killing the open guard, killing the close guard. Because
you have a seminar on that.
Yeah. So because there's no punching after that. And it's they have to let go, because usually if you stack in, they go hooks under you a little bit. So they have to open the legs to keep your weight away. Yeah. So that's kind of like close guard top is catching up. There's some other stuff I have to fix out, but the bottom makes more sense. I wish people would challenge that, but and be ready to change your mind. But just everything, literally everything. Let's give you a little bit of room, yeah. Mostly everything works way better if you just play it close. Gi, no gi, MMA just makes sense.
That's interesting. It just occurred to me. A friend of mine wanted me to ask you, a friend and training partner, Guy. He wanted me to ask you. He said, because he'd been watching, because I sent him some of your stuff, and he'd been watching it, and he's very much into wrestling, and so he wanted to know if there's any concern that you have in teaching that is focused on defensive postures, that in teaching defensive postures, you take away from other potentially attacking positions. So in focusing too much on defensive postures, are you missing out on the attacking side of things?
Yes and no, but I'll give you another fun experiment we did. I think it was now a year and a half ago. We were just about to do it also in a main group, just teaching defense just before this Corona. But I know I did a year and a half ago, we did a section when I taught the Darces, Anacondas, you know, the Terurian neckties, all those things, defenses, as we knew back then. Timing-wise, early, middle, late, blah, 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 yeah? And I only did defenses. And what happened during the 2 months we did this, everybody got super good in Darce and Anaconda. You know why? Because the defense was better. Because they were motivated to keep attacking because they had super hard time to finishing. Because what happens when you teach, let's say you teach Anaconda, you know, Darce, Peru, and necktie, so it's a one triangle part, you know, you can go in, and in the middle, and Japanese necktie, whatever. So if you do this and you don't teach defense, then it becomes, everybody gets super bored in a week or two because they just finishing rate is super high. Yeah. So, and people are not motivated to figure it out because actually understanding the scientific defense in a different timing layers, it's quite hard because the information is very scattered in the world. So what I randomly did, I didn't expect these results. I taught only defense. I showed, you know, everybody understands Anaconda, roll, blah, blah, blah. And 2 months, they could just hunt those Dars, Mars, Anaconda and stuff. And everybody was super motivated to just because defense got super good. And they had actually very, very hard time catching people on those submissions. So the motivation and interest was super high.
That's it.
So, yeah. So
that is very interesting that you say that, in that you're teaching you're teaching your students defenses or improving their defenses, and as a direct result of that, they're attacking just incrementally got better.
Yes. So that's the very logical thing. And also, many things, they sound logical first, but they're counterintuitive. Is you want to get good in attacks, teach the attacks. Yeah. So I guess my guys, they had to know, Anaconda, some rolls, some, a little bit finishing mechanics. We did go over those things very shortly, but the motivation to understand those mechanics drops really fast if there's no defense, because they don't understand why in Anaconda you have to grab the leg. Understand? Because they don't appreciate grabbing the leg. Grabs the leg, don't grab the leg. Who gives a fuck? Yeah. So, but if you understand that grabbing the leg is one of the key things that I would teach to keep away from you, then you understand very much that why you need to have that leg very quickly. So, and so what pushes the attack to become better is the defense. So what happens to these defensive structures when I teach my 0 points, people's timing of attack will get super good, because the elbow spaces are so tucked in that people have to get really fast arm in or the space is gone. So your timing is usually like this if defense is bad, but my defense is pushing the timing to become this very, very specific, very precise. And if somebody has a more open elbows, it works even better. But because the good defense, because otherwise I usually say this, that you have a sector of defense and you don't know where is the accurate timing, So defense helps you to find that accurate timing that is needed for that technique. And when somebody is a lesser skilled defense level, then it works anyway. So by teaching the escapes, actually what we did 2 months was also attacks. And everybody was let's call it everybody was watching YouTube, understanding how to do those submissions better, because they had a hard time during the gym, during the training. So that's an interesting side effect, actually. And then also in the main group, we did Ronald, my video partner, did, I think, 2 months, those submissions separately. They're like white belts, We did, but the base was also those 0 points, but people did more mistakes in 0 points deliberately. Moving around, but keeping it open and then open less. Yeah. So you still get your arms through. And now my job was, after this, we already did I think 1 or 2 weeks before this Corona happened. Now my influence was, I started to do defense now, because they got good, because the motivation was there and mechanics were good. And now the defense kicks in. And so they could do another 2 months, Darses and Marses and all those Anacondas. But the motivation is high because the defense is making everything super hard. So with the beginners, I would still do the mechanics, really show them how to change from one lock to another lock and how to connect, because one is later it was like Anaconda was a setup for a Dars, in and then jab cross, because you fake it one and then, so it's always combinations, 1, 2, or 3. So using those defensive structures, bottom person was moving around during those positions, panda, turtle, hawking, running man, and the top guy was attacking the moving target and combining things, because they could actually block the first one and then do the second one. But without this 0 point and without the defensive person knowing how to move in the bottom, we couldn't do those drills, because the bottom person without this knowledge of 0 points could not move around, because they could move around, arms open, and then everything would be fake. So bottom person was training their transitioning, doing them deliberately sloppier, maybe blocking the first attempt, maybe if the guy was good, blocking the 2 attempts and giving the 3rd attempt. And then top person was learning combination attacks and not getting frustrated if the first attempt did not work, because that's the point of the sport. You first is always a setup, most cases, you know, you slap the head and double leg. So top guy learned to attack the moving target. And then now my job was, like I said, to make the defense even more better. And it was nice to build on that because they were already moving around under pressure. And so my job was just make it more precise. So actually the results from those were gonna be like super crazy. I was so happy actually, because what job the Ronald did with all the chokes, and what I know what I can do with the escapes. And I also needed the escapes to do it second time, because the first time I did it was 1.5 years ago. And now I know so much more of different timing layers and all the baby bridges stuff that just, I would say even exponentially made everything better. But we did also a good job back in the day already, 1.5 years ago. But now the projectile was already pretty good. So we'll see. Probably we'll continue after this if we still have a club. But it was really nice to see how systemized beginners, white belt and blue belt, can look, and what kind of potential they have. You know, like I could produce, let's say, dream job or projectile could be in a rate over exaggerated context would be everybody would be like Carrie Donnan, you know, escaping submissions. He has a crazy feeling of things, you know, and so we know what he can do, and the point is, how do we systemize it, what he can do? Or what the good guys that escape the wizards, you know, what they can do, how we systemize their information. Because if you teach single techniques, you're lost. You have to understand the concept of what they're doing, you know, and then you understand the techniques. So, but I know already with Darces and all those things we did, those blue belts and stuff, if they start, it's not going to be like, they're not going to get submitted, you know, but they know what they have to do, and they just have to fail and pull it off. And, you know, and if they're a black belt, they're pretty good at this already. So, but if already blue belts are, you know, and white belts are handling, they're knowing the layers of escapes. Just takes time to pull it off in the highest level, you know. So it's a very interesting times, and I'm happy where everything goes. So still my gym is a lab, and it's not perfect, but we're always, you know, messing with information, and this defensive thing is actually helping in some way to make people way better, way faster. Because imagine when you can have a defensive guy in leg locks like Carrie Donnan in a gym. Everybody will try to figure out how to submit that guy. So that's why the question your friend asked is counterintuitive. By teaching people, of course, we have to teach the first layer of, you know, how to attack the heels and stuff. But what keeps them attacking the heel is how good the defense. If the defense is really good, people are super motivated to watch matches to still hunt that heel. And they never had a thought in their head that, oh, I'm good. Because, you know, if you tap somebody 6-10 times in our gym, you start to think, oh, I'm good in leg locks. And then you meet the leg lock wizard that escapes everything. You go like, oh shit, you know. so because it's possible. So you need that defensive structure in the gym. And then people keep evolving and then attacking the legs, and, you know, so I think it's a very counterintuitive, but seems like very necessary.
Yeah, it does. I think you got that. It reminds me of Floyd Mayweather. You know, he's very defensive, but nobody's defeated him in, I don't know what, 50 fights.
I compared to boxing. I don't know much about boxing. I guess I know the Mayweather, and I know Lomachenko and stuff, and I know in a way how boxing works. but I heard, because Mayweather was also bashed, I think, the way he hit pads, I think people are criticized, the way he played defensively. He got a lot of heat for that, but then he pulled it off, and so definitely there's a system that works. It's very head saving what he's doing. And clearly, again, like also, like, I guess Lomachenko is, you can argue that he's very defensively offensive, It's very hard to get hit, and so how do we systemize that? It cannot be like one guy and then he stops boxing and the information is lost, Somebody has to, why not produce 100 Lomachenkos,
Yeah.
My good friend from Trinidad and Tobago, Rondell, also explained that that something happened with the late Kobe Bryant also, that the coach Phil Jackson, then they could like help him to, to be more Michael Jordan or something. That it's like, what was Michael Jordan and what's the essence, So sometimes you can't copy straight the object. You have to understand how it's built. Like Gary Tonon, if you don't understand what he's doing, it's super hard to mimic him. It's like Tellez, if you don't understand the essence of what he's doing, you will never be good at the turtle, because he looks so vulnerable, but he's not. So what is the essence? And we can copy, and then everybody can be a Tellez. So that's the hardest, and I'm very lucky, or I don't know, so that I could help to figure it out. And already the feedback I'm getting, so clearly I'm doing something good. So I think we have to study more good guys. And if somebody is particularly good at something, it has to be a way to systemize it down to the essence of what it is. And then clearly, because it's sad when those people, stop doing the sports, retire, and information is lost. And so that's, I don't know, what I'm afraid of. That we have so much going on, and clearly we have some very, very good guys, but seems like a lot of them can't teach why they're good. Because I know some guys that are good in turtle, and they can't say the essence of that. Even my turtle friend Eric Linden from Sweden, who was the closest thing we had to Tellez. That's the turtle thing happened because he was very good in turtle. He's one, I gave the purple belt also him. So he couldn't actually explain what he's doing in turtle. What is the essence of what he's doing? So, and it took us 2.5 years to figure it out. So even it helped him to understand what he's actually doing. And now let's say I can play similar to him, very open. It's very hard to understand what I'm doing actually. But when I'm teaching it, it's always the elbows. Elbows close in a exact specific position and all those things. So sometimes just people do. And it's not a bad thing to say that, they don't get it. They clearly do, but it comes like to the time and, trial and error. So they can't say what is the essential. So it needs other people. And so let's say I can do it in a pretty okay level, the turtle, but not in a maybe world-class level, because the strength and timing and explosiveness and athleticism. Yeah. But I can explain what Tellez does maybe. So some people do this, some people do it in a highest level, some people can do both. So yeah, so it's interesting, but there's so many things that I wish that we study. And clearly, the Gary Tonon as an escaping wizard is, my coffee machine goes nuts a little bit. If you hear, wait, shuts down. Yes. So I'm not out of I still have inspirations, and I don't stress about it so much. The inventions are coming to me, when they come. I'm clearly thinking, and then I see some matches, and randomly kind of I feel they're like, it's like they're happening. So it's a really weird process actually,
Yeah.
because I don't know when they're happening. At some point, just and now I get it.
Man, this has been a fantastic conversation, Preet.
Thank you.
But before we go, where can the listeners find you on social media? Do you have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
Twitter, no. Instagram at the moment is pretty dead. I was more active when I think before the corona.
Okay.
I was doing more stories and stuff. I don't know how to use Instagram actually. In that sense, I know how to use Facebook. So it's Facebook is Jits Vulcan Priit Mihkelson, my name, and Jits Vulcan. So that's Facebook. Then YouTube, also my name. You can find. I have some DVDs in Fanatics. What else?
Your website?
Website at the moment, after I think it, let's say it comes out after all the corona and stuff. Right now, I don't have it, but usually through Facebook. And then people want to friend me. I usually accept everybody. If there's no common friends, I usually ask them, how do we know each other? And if I just to check them if they're not spam, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So and let's say Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, people already like commenting there also already pretty often. So those are at the moment, and also Globetrotters. Yes, Globetrotters in action. That's a lot of my information is out there, pretty scattered by intention. So I'm trying to build it more as a system towards DVDs and stuff, so people can actually find pretty lot of things in the Globetrotters in action site about my stuff. And also there's like over 200 free seminar videos, so it's a good resource for people actually. So those are the main things I think. And I'm from Estonia, so in Tallinn, so anybody wants to come to visit, we're always very welcoming towards travelers. We don't have a mat fee. If you're visiting for maybe a week or two, we don't charge you. We're just happy you come. So in Tallinn, 3D training. So that's about it. I think that's enough already.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Preet, for taking your time and talking. Well, stay safe.
You. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.